The Bengals beat the Chiefs in the AFC Championship last year in overtime. Chiefs safety Justin Reid wasn't on the team at the time, but he was asked what he would have done differently in that game. Here's what Justin Reid said.
A lot of it's going to come down to making the play on the ball, and they have 88 Higbee. No, it's not Higbee. Was with the Rams. What's his name?
Not Higgins.
It is Higgins.
Yeah,
it's Higgins. Higbee and Higgins.
Yeah.
They're going to have him back. He's a very talented receiver, too. More of a finesse type of guy. Not the best blocker. I'm going to lock him down, straight up. So, we're going to have to come out of the game, like I said, play our best game and go out and do it.
Reid thereafter got out the mop and the bucket, and he went to Twitter to say this: "To be honest, I meant Hayden Hurst for the man matchups. Nevertheless, any and everybody is still getting locked up." That caught the attention of Bengals tight end Hayden Hurst. Here's what he had to say about Justin Reid's remarks.
I don't know. I mean, you could pick anybody in this locker room, but I feel like I'm the last person you probably want to talk about because I have a long memory.
Well, you don't need a long memory because the game's just a few days from now. And Peter, Justin Reid fumbled this one on another level because he was asked what he would have done if he would have been part of the Chiefs' defense that day. Hayden Hurst wasn't on the team. C.J. Uzomah was the tight end at the time. Hurst came in the offseason after Uzomah left via free agency. So Justin Reid got that so wrong, he doesn't even know how wrong he got it.
I mean, this falls under the category of there's 6 days where football isn't played in most cities in the NFL. Okay? And this falls into the category of who gives a crap? I mean, what Justin Reid is going to say, yeah, I'm going to lock down whoever I come up against. I mean, did he say Hayden Hurst stinks? No, he didn't say that. He didn't even know his name. And, Hayden Hurst, I'm the last guy you want to talk crap about. I mean, who cares? I just think, Mike, look, I'm an old man, and I'm sending my suit back, and I'm raging at the kids to get off my lawn. I get it. But in my years covering the NFL, there have been so many mountains made out of so many stupid molehills. And when I read about this yesterday, I just said to myself, classic example of people, I'm not saying inventing stuff. Okay, you want to use it as the fourth note in your locker room notes? That's fine. You want to make it a headline? It's silly. It is flat out silly.
Well, in this day and age, there are no longer fourth notes in locker room notes. Every little blurb like that is its own headline, but that's a different issue altogether. The point, I think, is that these two teams, for the most part, are very careful about saying anything that could be used as the old bulletin board material. You have a lot of bouquets being thrown back and forth between Patrick Mahomes and Joe Burrow. But I think there's an undercurrent of animosity there, especially coming from the Chiefs. The Chiefs lost to the Bengals twice last year, late in the regular season and in the playoffs. And, at least with the Bills rivalry, the Chiefs are on the right side of it when it matters. The Bills have won the last two in the regular season, but until the Bills win in the postseason, the Chiefs still own the Buffalo Bills. The Bengals have quietly acquired title to the Kansas City Chiefs, and I think there's a lot more bubbling under the surface, and I'll interpret this dust-up between Reid and Hurst as just a little indication of what's being said behind closed doors. I think that, and that's good, because if they're carrying around pent-up frustration, maybe that guarantees a better football game. So I think it became a story because nobody else from those two teams is giving anyone anything that they can use to showcase what should be the one game that we're all circling this weekend. That this is a conference championship rematch between two teams that are on a collision course for the postseason. So it's a huge game, and except for Justin Reid and Hayden Hurst, everybody's keeping their mouth shut when it comes to saying anything that could be used against them.
I think what is really interesting when you think about the Bengals right now, Mike, I'm going to say something that is, you've got to sort of put your thinking cap on a little bit, okay? But I think that if you look at two teams in the AFC, one of which was the number 1 seed last year, and the other of which everybody thought was the nominal best team in the AFC at the end of the year, only didn't win to go to the Super Bowl, and that's Kansas City. So if you take the Tennessee Titans and the Kansas City Chiefs, since January 1st, okay, the Cincinnati Bengals against those two teams are 3-0 and could be 4-0 in this calendar year, because remember, they played the Chiefs right after New Year's last year. I think it was January 2. And then they beat Kansas City again in the playoffs. And then, I'm sorry, they're 4-0. They're 4-0 against those two teams because they beat Tennessee last year in the playoffs and then this year in the regular season. So I look at all this and I just say, I think it was fashionable, and I was probably among them because I picked Baltimore to win the AFC North this year. I think it's fashionable to say that the team that loses the Super Bowl, history says that they don't perform all that well the next year. But it's a good thing Joe Burrow doesn't read history. I don't think he does. Maybe he does. Or at least he doesn't pay any attention to history, because he's slapping history in the face this year. For the Bengals to be 4-0 against the number 1 seed from last year and the team that everybody thought by the end of the year was the best team in the AFC, and could be 5-0 after Sunday, that is an amazing feat by the Cincinnati Bengals.
And it is stunning to me that the Bengals aren't more regarded as a Super Bowl contender. I think it's because last year's Super Bowl run had a pretty strong vibe of they got lucky. Now, they would disagree, and I disagree with it, but when you look at each of the games, there was that weird call on a play that looked a lot like the Josh Allen last night, rolling to the right and just at the sideline throwing the ball. Remember the inadvertent whistle that marred the win over the Raiders? And it didn't really feel like the Bengals were dramatically superior to the Raiders that day. They had to fend off a late drive by Las Vegas to win that game. And then they go to Tennessee, and Joe Burrow gets sacked 9 times, and somehow they get lucky and win that one. And then they go to Kansas City, and they're down big. What was it, 21-3 at one point in the first half, and it was over, and the Chiefs get greedy, and the next thing you know, it's a game, and the next thing you know, the Bengals win. And they almost won the Super Bowl, but I just don't think that a lot of people looked at what they did last year and said this is sustainable. And early in the season, those people were proven kind of right. But here come the Bengals. Even without Jamar Chase, they've been very good in recent weeks, and now they get Chase back. And what they're doing is sustainable. And Joe Burrow is healthy, and Joe Burrow is getting it done, and Joe Burrow is determined. And we've just kind of forgotten about him. We get so caught up in Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen and whoever the new flavor of the month is. Burrow was the flavor of the month last year, but we just kind of moved on. And I say we, like collectively, everybody who pays attention to football, I think we need to start paying a lot more attention to the Bengals, and we will if they win at home on Sunday, where they are 2.5-point underdogs to the Kansas City Chiefs. And I guarantee you that fact is going to be used by someone in that locker room to get those players even more fired up.
I'm sure they will, but I don't think there's any shock to be underdogs to Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and Andy Reid. I think...
you still take it as a slap in the face Packers. If you're the Bengals.
You might. I'm sure. And look, coaches can use anything at any time, and I'm sure that Zach Taylor, if he feels like it will help him, will use it because he's an NFL coach, and that's what NFL coaches do. I think here's the way I look at it, Mike. So in both of those games, you talk about why did the Bengals not enter this year, getting the kind of respect that you think that they should. I think number one is history. The fact that Super Bowl losing teams traditionally have not been great the next year. And it's almost annual. Okay, that's number one. And number two, just remember, in their last two games of the AFC playoffs, Ryan Tannehill and Patrick Mahomes threw 5 passes to Bengals. And so you get picked off 5 times. And even though you might be a better team than the Bengals, if you get picked off 5 times, you're not a better team than the Bengals. And I think, and the way that those things happened, the fact that Tannehill threw an interception in the last minute of the game, and the Bengals got in position for Evan McPherson to kick a 98-yard field goal, or whatever it was. And then the next week, almost the exact same thing happens. Mahomes throws that interception. I think it was to Von Bell. And they go down and kick another field goal to win. I'm not in any way minimizing what the Bengals did. The Bengals won those games on the road fair, square, deservedly. What I am saying is that, I'm not saying they're coin flip games, but they're damn close. And so I think that's why entering this year, plus the fact that Super Bowl losers don't perform that well the following year, that's why I think everybody was dubious on the Bengals.
Trivia question for you, Peter King. When is the last time the Kansas City Chiefs won a game in Cincinnati?
2017.
No? I was going to give you a hint. When is the year that you began covering the Cincinnati Bengals?
Oh, that's crazy. 1984?
Yes. That's the last time.
Are you out of your mind?
That's what the sheet says.
That is the craziest thing I've heard.
The research has been confirmed. 1984, 6 straight losses. It's odd that they haven't played more than 6 times in 40 years, almost, in Cincinnati, since they're in the same conference and they cross paths more often than if they were in different conferences. But yes, 6 straight losses to the Bengals during that period. And it is surprising because for most of that period, the Bengals have been crap and the Chiefs have been pretty good. So Cincinnati's got something figured out. I don't know. Maybe they send a bunch of bad chili to the Kansas City hotel the night before the game. Maybe that's the secret.
Mike, that was I just looked it up. That's the second NFL game I ever covered. It was the second game of that season. Kansas City 27, Bengals 22. I have zero recollection of it. I wonder who played quarterback. Would it have been Bill Kenny? Would it have been
Todd
Steve
Blackledge?
DeBerg? Todd Black could have been. I bet it was Todd Blackledge. I bet it was Todd Blackledge against Ken Anderson. I bet.
In 84, or was it Boomer Esiason? He was drafted in 84. So
well,
maybe
Boomer, that would have been Boomer's second game as a Bengal. I don't think he was starting. Yeah. I'm pretty sure Ken Anderson would have been playing the first month or so. Yeah, Todd Blackledge versus Ken Anderson. Thank you, Courtney.
Here's my suggestion. Unsolicited, free, so he's getting his money's worth. Andy Reid, fly Peter King to Cincinnati to cover this game if you want to win. That's the key. Bring Peter back. That's the only way if they want to make it happen in Cincinnati for the first time since the year of Ghostbusters, 1984.
Hey, Mike, by the way,
go ahead.
By the way, isn't this one of the sneaky great weeks on the schedule, like in a long time? Like, I am totally fascinated by Miami at San Francisco. Kansas City at Cincinnati is the game of almost any week this year, the way those two teams are playing. And I mean, there are so many really interesting matchups and important matchups this week. I think this is going to be I think, a fabulous Sunday.
Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.